The world of Dark Souls is frightening and murky. How can you truly understand Dark Souls lore without living Dark Souls, grinding away tirelessly in inhospitable environments under uncharitable overlords? To truly understand Dark Souls lore, you must first understand the desolation of working at a job. Retribution. Veda Lopez is back. You remember her and her ferret team of Spartan 3s from Last Light and the short story A Necessary Truth? Of course not! Wouldn't it be nice if there was one place you could find the full bestiary of every monster in Castlevania? I think that would be nice. Or at least I thought it would be nice. Oh, I swear to God, the first time I started filming this video, I thought it would be an easy change of pace. I mean, how many unique enemies could there really be in Castlevania? 100? 200? How about more than 600? Because for those who can superbly smash, there is no better place to make a friend than on the battlefield. That's the battlefield? Seriously? How did they get permits for that? That's irresponsible. Finally, we have the Executioner's Chariot, whose employees are trying to unionize, but they keep getting trampled.
I awake one morning upon the shore of a strange sea. I do not know where I am, nor how I came to be here. The sea stretches endlessly in front of me, revealing the gentle, Kirby-like curve of the planet.
You can tell it's a new season because I've grown a mustache and cut my hair. Oh, I'm obviously just kidding. These are both fake. I know how much it would disappoint my friends if I changed my appearance. I'm just kidding again. I'm not your friend, and you have no say over what I do with my body. Dragon Rider. This dude doesn't have a dragon. His job title is obviously false. It's like if I got promoted to guy who had an okay time in high school. He would make that energy by splitting average temperatures into hot temperatures and cold temperatures. I'm choosing to think of that as something like nuclear fission, as opposed to choosing to think of it as dumb. And I do not feel at all qualified to discuss the philosophical implications of that. What I categorized as histories was anything that had big historical dates in them, explanatory histories, or pretty much anything that was boring. History's so boring! I don't give two shits about a king who lost a war 700 years ago. Shoo! Get out of here! It happened in Second Planting, PD 1220, that Lord Ichlandam, on a journey in the western uplands, came to Nahulift, and Protector Ankard and General Rkunthunch met him there, and Dalen Zanchu also came to the meeting. They talked together long by themselves, but this only was known of their business, that they were to be friends of each other. They parted, and each went home to his own colony. Riveting! I'm sure there's a lot of people that disagree with me and think that the historical is the most important flavor text. And you know what? They are valid, and they're wrong, and they always seem to find my comment sections. Hi, I'm Brian David Gilbert, safety fan and bureaucratic wunderkind. Please address me as such. First up is a unique character. It's Nurgle Mislamsty. The reason I think he deserves a chance is because someone named him Nurgle Mislamsty. Of course he's gonna be fucking evil. She doesn't really have like a hero's journey. I'll just tie it out for you. And since this oblong actually crosses through the hero's journey twice, we're gonna make this easy to remember and call it the Hero's Memories of the Hero's Journey Double Cross Oblong, or HMHJXXO. I got a creative writing degree. That's all I have to say about that. Humans are real squishy, really, when you think about it. Turns out, it's written by the same fictional author, Wogan Jarth. This one's for you, Wogan. I'm a big Jarth head. Wait, where'd Toadman go? Where's my guy Toadman? It's me. Acid Man was built to be a chemist. What's he good for, titrations? That's a chemistry joke. Sharkman does not need to exist. Oh, we've been doing this for like 5 hours. But just when all hope seemed lost, I had an epiphany.
I am going to throw myself into the sea.
Here's the big rule of thumb. Magicians are always evil. Can I get a whoop? Whoop! We'll work on it, Clayton. They are also known by the name the Night Stalker, which is a big red flag. Bounce Man was built to be a crash test dummy. Some asshole thought, hey, you know that thing that we throw against a wall many miles per hour every single day, multiple times a day? You know what would make that better? If it could feel pain! Patrick thinks it shouldn't be this high on the list, but fuck Patrick. The next monster is Evil Force, and I want you to just go ahead and wipe away all preconceived notions. Obviously the name makes it sound bad. It also is terrible. Who has ever watched a clown and thought to themselves, boy, I wish that thing never got tired. Fun fact about academic books that I learned in college is that no one has ever enjoyed writing or reading an academic paper. Why'd you put it in a video game? It's important to have a boss that recognizes their flaws, but it's bad if your boss locks herself in the conference room and flogs herself eternally. I booked the conference room for 3. I need to get in there. This is what man has wrought. You will see these men in your nightmares, particularly Spring Man. Jumping around. Most of these regulations are irrelevant, but I still had to read all 684 pages in order to know which ones to cut. Which reminds me, this video idea came from commenter nshady16. So if you have an unraveled idea, why don't you go ahead and leave me a comment? And thanks, nshady16, for making me read 684 pages of OSHA regulations, you piece of garbage! What about ephemera like will-o'-the-wisps, or inanimate objects made animate, kind of like golems or marionettes? I went back and forth on whether or not to include these, and then I realized they creep me out, so I cut them. Before I go to number 1, I gotta go get a flu shot. This is not a joke. It's important to get your flu shot. All of the things are moving. Kira, steer clear of this knife pervert. If you're working underground, you're required to have a 5-person rescue team on call. And although Super Smash Bros. Ultimate does allow up to 8 players, none of them will save you. But it's not their fault, right? You know, they didn't choose to be born. Who does choose to be born, right? Who chooses? There are no acceptable entry conditions into a space with a pit full of acid. I don't know how to categorize Mother Brain. There's fire. There are jacks that get thrown across the stage. There is a large ape. Again, I could not categorize that, but I know he shouldn't have been there. No, it doesn't fit here. I've got a better... There's another part of the hero's journey, and it's called the Dream Drop Bucket, and it's where you put the dream drop distance until you need it later, and hopefully you won't. We have eh. What genre is eh? Next time someone tells you, I don't understand Kingdom Hearts, you say, hey bucko, I think what you don't understand is basic storytelling. Basic storytelling. Do I regret reading the Geneva Conventions? Of course not. Knowledge is its own reward. And could I really call this an Unraveled if I didn't spend a whole day reading 224 pages of dense legalese for no good reason? Of course I couldn't. Of course I couldn't. Because God has cursed me for my hubris, and my work is never finished. Because not even death can excuse you from service in Bowser's army. But in PictoChat 2, there is too much ventilation in the form of this man, who blows air. Who hired this man? I don't want him on my job site. Wimps and thwomps and wimps and womps and grindles and spindles and grolls. There's toxbox and flomps and romps and bumps and walleyes and wallops, and they're all pretty much invincible, and they will crush you without hesitation. If you'll excuse me, I'm going to go throw myself into the ocean now. And in Dracula's castle, Death flies through the window and breaks the glass. I couldn't give a shit about Death. You should have removed that stained glass first. Have you ever thought about the term boss in a video game before? Those terrible enemies have the same title as the people you'll be working for the rest of your life. What a silly coincidence! Disposal of waste materials. If you are dropping waste materials more than 25 feet, you need to be putting it in a chute. Clock tower. It is all debris that is falling infinitely, and it should be in a chute. But I don't know, I feel like I'm just missing something. Because he gets Norded. Possessed by Xehanort before. I forgot about the villain's journey. The villain's tridecagon. The villain's tridecagon is definitely the key. The tridecagon of villainy. This is a 13-sided shape that goes one further than the dodecagon of the hero's journey. When you see yourself exhibiting these lackluster tendencies, I want you to ask yourself, what can I do to be better than the Royal Rat Authority, who vomits acid all over the floor multiple times a day and is still considered a pretty okay boss? The first 9 books are just boot camp. Now that the Master Chief, me, has completed his training, books, it was time for him to drop into the field. More books. A good boss values employee perspectives and rewards good performance, like when a boss decides to die when you hit it in a good way. So many of these histories are negating other ones. This is a wonderful way of showing people you need to read everything if you're going to get the whole picture. I read everything. I am the keeper of the picture. Except, he doesn't really die. In an effort to expedite the death sequence, I accidentally hit ultra fast speed, and for some reason, this killed Death. I waited, hoping the Reaper would respawn, but no. So I rushed through the days, waiting for someone to find my collapsed body in the weird corner of my creepy hallway, but the only people who noticed my quote-unquote death were the utility companies. I used this moment to look around my neighborhood. Most houses were far nicer. I was alone in a little box, surrounded by neighbors who had forgotten me, or perhaps never knew I existed. Even Death had forgotten me. I watched my slumped body linger in limbo as nothing changed. After a week, I resigned myself to quitting. And then in Trial 5, I peed myself. A lot. I do want to talk about the implications of this unit for a moment, specifically Dry Bones and Dry Bowser, whose naming conventions confuse and frighten me. When I die, will I become Dry Brian? Is a living Bowser Wet Bowser? Why do Piranha Plant have bone in it? Alright, assholes. I have no more space here, so I made you a data cube. Are you happy? This is perfect for the employee that likes to, you know, fuck around on Reddit all day and then send one email at 5 and then peace out. I don't know what that's like. I've never done that. There's Red Bull in this mug. Now, when the King of the Storm takes enough damage, the Nameless King will put them out of their misery. And it's very sad, but it's also what needed to happen. That's good management. I fully expect my boss, Terra Long, to put me out of my misery when I stop being useful. Seeing these combatants rip spines from torsos, pop eyeballs from heads, and pull organs from pretty much everywhere leaves me excited, energetic, and can I be honest with you, a little bit distraught. Great Grey Wolf Sif is a big wolf with a sword. Fuck yeah! And I honestly do not have the time to unpack this bullshit. The best boss is you. And all of your dead friends. And I choose to believe he's very kind and doesn't know his own strength. And all the people he's murdered up to this point has just been an accident. Also a bunch of villains, but for different reasons. Power, ambition, loyalty, wyvern riding, I guess. And getting possessed, which is a classic mistake. What is the object you'd least like to be stabbed by? Trident. It's like 3 stabs at once. What is your greatest intangible fear? This is a pretty heavy one. I guess my greatest fear would be like not being able to remember my loved ones and just like losing that sense of self. So probably, I guess it would just be memory loss is probably my greatest intangible fear. 9, what is your greatest tangible fear? Horses. Reptile is responsible for the genocide of several other species, and he also doesn't moisturize. And one of those has gotta be a deal breaker. Human beings aren't meant to remember 600 people perfectly. If you don't believe me, just try to remember something about every single person in your contact list. I have a contact for someone named Zane, and in the company, it just says Bocce Ball. Who the fuck is this? The Kioma demon hangs out in mirrors and jumps out and scares you, and I don't need any more reason to be afraid of looking at myself in the mirror. It's only 13, which is not only an unlucky number, but it is too large for your tiny child brains, which proves that the Fire Emblem characters are all essentially the same and that you cannot differentiate them. Mission complete. What was this unraveled about again? Sim Brian manages to socialize and stay happy for 2 days. It starts to break down on Tuesday when I find my Sim sadly eating a grilled cheese in his empty kitchen. And then on Wednesday, Sim Brian sadly eats cereal while staring out the kitchen window. Things get real bad at 2 a.m. on Thursday when he stares in the mirror for hours. The ennui has set in. It's hard not to draw a parallel between his experiences and my own, because I went through a grueling gauntlet of books and emerged stronger than ever. I don't think... Let me take a moment to move over to a different board so I can show you Kirby's origin story. There's nothing here!
There are no pinboards in the forest. I don't have 3 cameras to catch my every side glance.
They don't teach you
It's just me and nature.
It's safe to say he's one of Nintendo's most trusted mascots. But he should not be trusted. In the jazz room, I put up a papier-mâché man playing the piano, a dartboard that felt pretty jazz to me, and a skeleton wearing a tank top that says, "I heart my daddy," because I honestly didn't know where else I could put that. They're strange characters that have, that are good at fighting. I mean, if you include Dimitri in this, he has an eye patch. Okay, which is similar to these ones. Seth and Byleth have they rhyme. We also, Dorothea wears a hat until she grows out of the hat. Think about that. Don't even get me started on Oboro. I don't know who that is. Is it pronounced Dice or Dice? It's kind of weird to differentiate things between myth and history, especially in this world where you can talk to demon princes. He only cares about eating and sleeping, and yet he gains no energy nor pleasure from consuming these things. Instead, he just lets them disappear. Gone from this plane of existence. So, what the fuck? And this makes me believe that the thing that killed me was not starvation, but rather becoming so lonely that I no longer sought to fix my situation. But that has nothing to do with my apartment, so let's focus on the things we can change. Sim Brian was perfectly content reading books, and everyone knows that books are boring, so I obviously need to fix whatever personality flaw turned my Sim into a dweeb. Consider for a moment Moby Dick. You might receive this book in your English class and say, "Hell yeah, a big ol' whale? I can't wait to see Ahab level up and hit that big boy right in his weak points." And sure, he puts his harpoon up in Moby D's flanks, but spoiler alert, Ahab gets got, even though he's been grinding for like years, and Pale Whale's just a dipshit fish with a thing for sailor feet. And so you say this to Miss Mahoney, and she's like, "Brian, don't you get it? The whale is a metaphor for something." And then you write that on your final exam, and you pass the class. Today, I'm telling you everything you need to know to get up to speed on Halo by playing all... Who put the Halo novels here? I'm not doing the Halo novels. Who put them here? I'm just playing 5 games, okay? Who put them here? Today, I will be playing all 5 of the What the fuck? What? Why does this keep happening? No, please, get these out of here! No! Let me show you something. What did you notice? That's right. For the entire time I was drawing this, I wasn't interrogating the true nature of Kirby! When I scheduled a brief 2-hour meeting with my coworkers to do a quick overview of the Halo novels, they kept getting upset with me because I needed to go off on tangents in order to tell them the juicy stuff.
Only in book 7 or 8 do all of these come from the side of the UNSC, so the concept of video games as art has like shifted to become...
I'm starting to see what you mean about not being able to talk about this without going on weird, long-winded tangents.
Not everyone can be the Master Chief. I certainly can't be, but maybe I don't have to be. Maybe I can just be Brian. Or maybe I could be Chakas. Chakas got pulled into this universe he didn't fully understand just because he thought it would be a fun thing to do for work. And then he gets so invested in it that he ends up losing all of his humanity to it and becoming Guilty Spark. And then he destroys all sentient life in the galaxy. God, am I gonna do that? Finally, meet. Some poor dude went on a quest with a Forerunner, basically as a freelance gig, and then he ended up getting his brain stuck in a Roomba for 100,000 years. That is rough, my dude. I hear your questions constantly. They come to me in my dreams like a prophet receiving visions from an angry god. There's a lot of characters in the meek murderer archetype because Fire Emblem loves to make characters that are quiet and shy and really self-conscious and then can wreck shop on the battlefield. I just didn't want to include them, all right? Look, I don't have to explain everything to you. I'm going through my rebellious phase. Can I say that?